Everybody can be a VIP. Some people think that they can pay to be a VIP. Some people think that they're automatically given VIP status just by being on the planet. I got a call from a football agent to say my client is looking to move club. He's looking to move from Liverpool to Newcastle. One stopped and one went berserk. The amount of dogs and cats we started flying around during COVID and post-COVID was quite remarkable. Not every phone call's a sale, and I don't want it to be.
On this week's episode, we speak to Matt Cheshire, CEO of the Needs Group. Offering a VIP concierge service to the rich and famous, Matt has over 25 years of experience providing quality services to a variety of clients. Matt tells us how he got into this fascinating niche sector, how he deals with people who never get told no, the ups and downs caused by COVID, and the importance of pampered pooches to the business. Before we start, I have one simple request. Please hit the follow or subscribe button on the app that you're listening on. That's it. On today's Leeds Business Podcast, I am delighted to have with me Matt Cheshire, CEO of the Needs Group. Hi, Matt.
Hi, how are we doing?
I'm good. Now, we met quite a few years ago now, didn't we? And you were telling me all about what your company does. Now, just explain to the listeners what the Needs Group is and just talk us very briefly through the four divisions of it.
Yeah, so we are four divisions. We set off, like most companies, as one division, which was Artist Needs. And it was ultimately hand-holding and looking after music artists. So the remit really for the company is we get the artist from home, back home, and we do everything in the middle. That's the easiest way of summarising the world of Artist Needs. So it might be that they take, 2 planes, 3 cars, a helicopter and a yacht to get to their stage. It might be that they have a full show, tour, whatever. So anything to do with a band or an individual solo artist. Basically that's what Artist Needs does in a nutshell.
Okay, and there are 3 other divisions as well which feature.
Yeah.
What is it? VIP furniture and
Aviation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So going in sort of the alphabetical order option. Artist Needs was as I said, the first one we set up. Aviation Needs, pretty much it is what it says it is, which is aviation led. So fixed wing, private jets and helicopters. Where did that come from? Well, again, people were calling us saying, I'm not a music artist, but, we've seen that you've flown this artist in and that band in, and we'd like to do the same, either on a corporate level, an individual level. So I thought, right, well, I always think if one person says it, 10 other people will be thinking it. So, right, let's launch Aviation Needs. So off we went, and Aviation Needs was born. Then the next one was Event Furniture Needs. Where did that come from? Well, I was fed up of turning up at music festivals and being let down by terrible furniture and artists saying to me, I just need some hair straighteners, or I just need a comfy chair, or I just need a skybox in my porter cabin. So I thought, right, fine, only one way to sort this. Let's get a warehouse in Leeds and let's buy it all, and then we'll put it in fields throughout the year. So that's what Event Furniture Needs does. We get lots of corporate inquiries. We don't tend to do corporate elements. We just we've got literally a warehouse full of everything that you can think of that everybody needs for a few hours whilst they're in the middle of a field to think that they're at home. Whether it be TVs, whether it be sofas, whether it be irons, ironing boards, hair straighteners, you name it, we've got it. And it sits there and it chugs around the country, in and out of fields, ticking that box. So that's what that part of the company does. And then VIP Needs, a little bit like Aviation Needs. We got lots of people and companies coming to us saying, we're not an artist, or we're not a sports personality, or we're not, this, that, and the rest, but we'd like you to sort it because it looks like you do it very well. And I went, thank you very much. Right, we'll call it VIP Needs. Because everybody can be a VIP. Some people think that they can pay to be a VIP. Some people think that they're automatically given VIP status just by being on the planet. So we can tick the box very easy.
Fantastic. But and actually, just thinking about that, most businesses say, "Oh, we supply something for our clients' needs," and you've almost taken that right down to the core and said, whatever you need within those areas, we can do for you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, and I'm sure we'll touch on this. My background was technical. I was a sound engineer by trade. I did lots of technical elements, and that's where my knowledge base is. But I'll be honest. The phone might ring, and it might be somebody to dog sit, pet sit. It might be that somebody needs a private jet to the other side of the country, the other side of the world. It might be, we had it a couple of weeks ago. We had a sports personality. They needed a new laptop. They weren't going to walk into the shop and get it. They knew that they'd be sold the most expensive one, or the wrong color, or it wouldn't work. So we bought it, and that tends to be what VIP needs sort of leans on, really, is our team's knowledge base and assisting where others would sometimes be taken advantage of, either because they haven't got the knowledge or they're sort of exploited from they can afford the most expensive option, so let's sell them the most expensive one, even though they don't need it. And so that there's a lot of the concierge side. It might be that people want tickets for something. It might be that we've got a few properties at the moment where the principals are on holiday, and they want house sitters. They want, we've got people in a covert vein, protecting their properties and things like that. I think we've been given lots of challenges over the years, and I think ultimately they all do tie into each other. So what a music artist might want might be the same as what a corporate wants. It was just almost about having something that didn't put people off from a brand name perspective.
Okay, so you've touched on it. Let's go back. You're an engineer at ITV. How does an engineer at ITV set up a company dealing with VIPs? What was the flip? Where did that happen?
So, I mean, the journey in a nutshell, I went to Leeds College of Music. I wanted to be two things. I either wanted to be in the music industry doing some sort of technical role, and or I wanted to be a pilot. It was either or, really. That's where I was from an early age. That's where I was sort of heading for. Ended up doing the music route. I did music management and sound production at Leeds College of Music. I left there and went into broadcast. Ultimately, I worked in news for quite a while, and again, whilst I had there were long hours. So when you were in, you might do from GMTV at 5 a.m. in the morning, until mid-afternoon. But then you had the afternoon or the evening off, and then off you went again. And that's when I started developing artist needs in the background. So it was ultimately something that I could focus on in my downtime. And it also meant that with the festival season being seasonal, come the summer, it was great because I could then go and work on the summer projects quite easily with my holiday that was accrued. So that's what I did. And, I set off, one of my first ever shows I did was at Lotherton Hall in Leeds. And, again, what was I doing? Well, it was a foot in the door, if I'm to be honest. I was, I was helping out during the build days. I was putting polystyrene cups on tent pegs. It was really glamorous stuff, but I knew that the long-term sort of graft hopefully was going to mean that I got my little contact book up to date, really, for the music industry. So kept on doing that. I ended up doing, in 99, I did an essential mix for the BBC. It was a 2-hour broadcast live from Lotherton Hall. And it was great because I could put my technical knowledge. It was an uplink. It was a live broadcast. It meant that I could do a hybrid of my broadcast elements, my bits in a field, and that was probably the starting point of everything sort of coming together, really. Because I looked after the artists. We did the artist broadcast, got them on air, got them off air, and and that sort of basically just went from strength to strength. And that's, as I say, why Artist Needs was the first one, purely because that was where it all began, in the vein of back to the sound engineering days, really. And again, ITV, I worked there for a long time in the end, really. I mean, we did lots and lots of different projects. I ended up taking redundancy because I thought, fine, this will be, another way of getting a cash injection into setting up on my own. I did that. I then did a summer in the field. And then ITV called me and said, "Oh, would you consider coming back? We've got some interesting projects, and we think you'd be quite good for them." And we worked on these projects across the board. And again, still doing the music on the side. So it was still a side hustle, but I kept obviously having the cash injections and sort of investing in the next elements, whether it be a website or equipment or something, to sort of invest as I went along, really. So yeah, that's how it all sort of began. The aviation element began because I got a call from a football agent to say, my client is looking to move club. He's looking to move from Liverpool to Newcastle. It's going to cost him millions and millions to move. And he's thinking about buying a helicopter. We've been told to give you a call. All right, okay. So we meet for a coffee in Horsforth, and I had a chat, and he said, "Right, it's over to you. Do you think you can make this helicopter work if we buy one?" Absolutely. And it was great because at the time I was doing projects with Guns N' Roses. We had Elton John. So there was, some household names that were using helicopters to move around the UK. And I had a footballer that was basically going to buy one and use it as his air taxi. And that's what happened. And that was how Aviation Needs was born, because from that, we ended up with Liverpool Football Club and then Newcastle Football Club. And they were sort of how it first initiated, with the players then ringing us to say, "Can you help us?" And just like we were helping an artist in a field put on a show, we were arranging the logistics for said footballer, and that's how that sort of grew. We've now got 7 Premier League clubs that we do all the player movement for, so that's grown over the years. Obviously, players come and go internationally, nationally. Some retire, some get injured. Unfortunately, just when you think you've got a player for life, there is no such thing. So, you have to be constantly thinking and evolving, just like the music side, really, because, one year they might be on tour. Next year they might be in a studio all year round, so they probably wouldn't use our services as much as if they were out on the road. So I guess it's been a way that we've evolved and had to evolve with both the music and the sports world. As I say, the event furniture side came about because of frustration and reliability, and that is what it is, really. I mean, we replenish items as and when required, but there's not a lot of investment into that area really for us now, but it's a facility that we can offer as part of our package. And then the VIP side, it's certainly growing. One of my big things over the last couple of years really is flying the flag to let the businesses, the high net worth individuals and the ultra high net worth individuals of Yorkshire know who we are. We don't advertise. You won't find a picture of us on a billboard. You won't find us in a magazine, but we are word of mouth. So it's and at that level, it's very much relationship led. And so everything has been very, very organically grown. Some people have got friends that were footballers. Footballers have got friends that were maybe music artists. So one of the big things that really, really helped us was the sports market wanting free tickets for the music shows. And in turn, the music artists were wanting free tickets for the sports. So it was brilliant. Yes, we made no money, and some people might go, "Oh, you missed a trick there. You could have," but actually our long-term gain has been phenomenal. Because what we have built is we've built phenomenal amounts of trust between our client base. So, proving the point that yes, money, obviously we need money to pay the bills, but there's a lot to be said about growth, and when you organically grow a business, having trust has been, the key thing for us, really.
Right. Now you covered about 500 different topics there that I want to dig back into.
Fine.
A couple of things you mentioned, and I've been sort of conscious of this while you've been talking. How do you control or develop growth when one assumes it's organic and word of mouth?
Yeah, I mean, it's really tricky. A lot of January for me is looking at the year ahead, and there's an element of loyalty, there's an element of luck, and there's a huge element of trust, and I think they all play a different part. I know that. So if I look at 2024, we had a phenomenal year. It was our 25th year anniversary, very proud year anyway. We had the Euros on, and the Euros were good. We had 9 out of the 11 starting England players that we were looking after them, the family. It was a very, very busy time. We ended up doing 146 music shows across the summer. It was our busiest year to date. And if I look at what I've done in this January, I've looked and gone, let's be realistic. There is no Euros this year. There is no World Cup this year. That's nobody's fault. That's just how it happens. So I'm not going to get any of that revenue. I'm not going to get any of that traffic. What will I get? Well, the footballers will still have time out from when the last Premiership match finishes to the season start. So, of course, they will go on holidays. That will be something that we will assist with and will arrange. But it won't be to the same level of flying day in, day out to Germany like we were for the Euros. Some of our music acts that performed and toured last year are not touring this year because, as a rule, you tend to sort of have a few years off, whether to go back in the studio or just to sort of, build the appetite back up for the, for the ticket purchase again. So I know from an aviation point of view, the vision is going to be very, very different to last year. But what I need to look at is what are the new trends? Where are people going? What's happening? Some of the corporates are spending in different ways. Some are doing more team building because there's a big push at the moment about obviously getting remote working back into the office and trying to build that team morale back. So it might be that we're chartering a helicopter and then they're going to build rafts all day in the middle of the Lake District or something. And then they might overnight in a castle and all, cook together and come back. There's all sorts of things that are now happening and people are looking at in order. So I guess what I'm trying to get to is it is constantly changing, but the people still require our services, but can be in a different vein. And it's just keeping ahead and trying to forward plan as much as you can. Have a look at what the big sporting events will be. We know this year that Glastonbury is going to take a year out. There'll be a huge demand for Glastonbury. Those that have got success with tickets, then there'll be an influx of people wanting helicopters down to Glastonbury, for example. So there'll be certain flagship events. We know that Ascot will be in demand. We know that Silverstone will be in demand. They're in the calendar every year. So that's not something that's going to go away. Glastonbury will go away, albeit for 1 year. So there'll probably be a few people that go, we'll spend an extra couple of pounds or we'll do an extra fluffy year this year. So there'll be a few elements like that this time. But as I say, between the sporting calendar, the music calendar, there's always going to be something. I think, we've come off the back of COVID where there's been lots of doom and gloom and lots of unknown for a lot of people and businesses. And I think year by year, people are rebuilding, whether that be their teams, whether that be their brand. And I think as long as we can still remain part of their ideas, I spend really January just literally talking to people, talking to the clients and say, what are you doing for the next 12 months? Trying to build a picture of where and what ideas everybody's got.
Okay. So a lot of your marketing is CRM, is actually going back to the client and going, what do you want this year, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of our clients have got properties abroad. Some didn't, but now have. I think there's lots of different things that are constantly being discussed at the top of the year. Okay, right. I've got clients that are building houses. Some people that have taken the plunge, as I say, to buy a property overseas. Some that have actually sold overseas because they've had it for a considerable amount of time. The changes, whether that be tax or just investment as a whole changes, has put them off, or maybe they're getting to an age where they don't want to keep going to the same place. The family world has changed, so they might want to explore the world. So we've got some clients that have retired or sold out. We've got a lot of people in the last few years that have actually sold out of business and have come literally from nothing, and now they've got this pot of gold. They can't do any work because they're under restriction for X number of months or years in order to so they're bored. These people don't know what to do. So, they'll come to us and say, well, actually, I've always wanted to do this, or I've always wanted to see this, or, how do you make that happen? Or how have you sorted that for this artist? Is it silly money if we were to do it? And just sort of trying to sit down with people and see how they can live their best life in the nicest possible way.
Okay. You touched on it. Talk to me how COVID was for you, because I can imagine everything stopped.
Well, one stopped and one went berserk. So again, the whole, don't put all your eggs in one basket. I think, that really played into our hands. Unfortunately, the music industry stopped, and it was horrendous to see. The overnight, the what ultimately was unfolding, and there still is, unfortunately, damage in the industry where people are unfortunately haven't survived and haven't been able to weather the storm. And however, whilst the music side of the company really, really dried up, the aviation went absolutely bonkers. We had people stuck in places that they hadn't been planned to be stuck in. So there was some sort of repatriation elements to our day-to-day. We had the corporates that had factories around the world that wanted to in person either tell workforce that they were closing down or something was changing. I have to say, a lot of our big corporate clients were very adamant that it wasn't done over a digital platform. It was an in-person go to the factory, and whether it be good news or bad news, let's be there to fight the fire. So we did do quite a lot of commercial movements on the aviation side. We did a phenomenal amount of pet movements. The amount of dogs and cats we started flying around during COVID and post-COVID was quite remarkable. And one thing that I would say is year on year, it goes up by about 120%. So our furry friends have definitely come out winning post-COVID, because they're now getting to go on their private jet to the Spanish house or the Portuguese house or the French house or whatever. So that was a huge thing for us. I think one of the biggest challenges we had was some of our client base financially are very, very comfortable and safe, and have always been used to doing whatever they want, going wherever they want. And I think some of them were stuck. Some of them needed to get there for one reason or another. We had traders, UK traders that based themselves out of New York. We couldn't get from the UK, we couldn't go straight into America. So I was sending them into a Caribbean island for a week, and they were sat on a beach for a week just so that I could then pick them up from the beach to then get them into the States. So we were trying to work the system the best we could so that the things that couldn't stop globally could continue. A lot of airlines, as we know, changed schedule, couldn't operate. Some of the airports went into very, very skeleton modes. It was contacts working very closely with, the core teams at all these sort of places to get people in and out. We had special dispensation for certain board members because, at government level and things like that, certain people were still allowed to travel because of the impact or what they were doing. It might be a supply chain of something. So it was trying to keep the world moving and going. And as I say, a lot of our client base fell into some of those categories. The sports market came back quite quickly, albeit sometimes it was to empty stadiums. However, when it restarted on a heavier level, again, nobody wanted the teams going through main terminals, so there was that worked to our advantage because the general aviation terminals, the FBOs, we could use, and that is obviously what we do use. So it meant that the contact became a lot less with humans. There was a mixture. We got all sorts. We got asked to move everything, as I say, from animals to humans to motor parts. We flew engine parts, all sorts of things. We had factories ringing us saying our machine's down. We need to get a part to our Italian factory, by tomorrow afternoon. Can you help? Yeah, of course. And we would send it over because the flight might cost them 10,000, but they were maybe losing 100,000 a day by the machine being out of action. So it was think on your feet time for us. COVID, we genuinely didn't know what was next, and for a company that was always word of mouth, all of a sudden the phone started ringing, and we didn't know who these people were because they'd been referred to us. And one of the big things we've always been able to say was we know exactly who our client is. For the first time ever, we really didn't know who was at the end of that phone. So we didn't know whether it was somebody that had a bright idea that was just trying to escape and jump onto a beach and try and slip under the radar, or whether it was somebody genuine. Fortunately, it was the latter, but it was definitely a testing time for us because, as I say, we didn't know who was at the end of that phone like we did and like we do on a day-to-day basis now. And so that was a big thing for us. Locator forms. If I never see a locator form again, oh man alive, thank you very much, I'd be a happy man. They were the bane of our life. I know we all had to do them. We all know why we needed to do them. But blimey, between them and COVID tests, it was an administration shock and wake up for us.
I can imagine. Before we continue, I need to tell our listeners and viewers about the Leeds Business Podcast Fair Deal. The Leeds Business Podcast Fair Deal has two sides to it. My side of it is every week I bring you inspirational, motivational, and fascinating guests like Matt, free of charge. Your side, listener and viewer, has only one part. We've changed the Leeds Business Podcast. I'm only asking you to do one thing now, and that is to recommend this podcast to one other person that you think will get benefit from it. That's it. That's the deal. I bring the guests, you make the recommendations. That's the Leeds Business Podcast Fair Deal. Sound like a fair deal, Matt?
Absolutely.
Priceless. There you go. Priceless. There you go. A couple of quick ones that, as you've been talking, you're very much the man in the middle. So the client comes to you and says, Matt, can you do X or Y? You're then reliant on a supplier to be able to do that. So, a pilot or an aircraft or a hotel or a holiday or a restaurant or whatever it might be. Does that not put a lot of strain on your reputation if you're reliant on a third party to deliver the level that you expect to deliver?
Yeah, very much. I mean, I always say to my team, and they, every one of them would be pig sick of me probably repeating myself, we are only as good as our last job. It doesn't matter whether I've flown everybody from royalty to the biggest footballer to the greatest music acts. We've been very fortunate. We have looked after these individuals and groups for the last 25 years. However, that's great, but we need to deliver that time and time again. And we are a resource, and we, ultimately, we always need to remember that we must continue on with our very, very high levels, because it's great that it worked really well for him or her or them, but if the customer that is currently paying today has a bad experience, then it's no good to anybody. And human resources have changed dramatically. I think especially for the hospitality sector, they've seen lots and lots of challenges. I think we're seeing current challenges with the rise of the taxation where we're at now, with national insurance and things like that. I think the hospitality industry is hurting. The travel industry is certainly not far behind that. And what might be a great hotel last week is only still a great hotel if they still deliver like they did last week, next week. And there's lots of people. It's very much a people business, and we're reliant on humans doing their job to the best of their ability. It isn't something that I 100% do. It's not something my team 100% do. We collectively work, across border, shall we say, in developing the relationships. But we need to ensure that the best hotel in that area is still the best hotel in that area, or the airport is the smoothest for transition, from a safety perspective, the security elements. There's lots and lots of things that we need to consider and constantly review. I must get 10, 15 emails a week of somebody promising me to be the best chauffeur, or the best this or the best that or whatever. I'm not saying they're not, but ultimately the people that we tend to work with, we've worked with for a considerable amount of years, because they know how we work and the standard to what we work. It's not all about price. The amount of people that will send me something saying, "Oh, we can do it cheaper than your current supplier." Well, they don't even know what I'm paying with my current supplier, or we might be doing it in-house. But and I keep saying to these people, it's not all about the money. It's about the service delivery, and it's about getting it right. It's about the confidentiality. It's about the, getting everything streamlined in the best possible way, so that the experience is the highest time and time again. And I think that has been probably one of our biggest challenges, because, unfortunately, lots of businesses, both national, regional, national, international, have all had to make some form of cut post-COVID. As I say, some haven't recovered, some have, and the ones that have recovered have, I wouldn't say cut corners, but the cloth is very, very close now, and we're then feeding back to them saying, look, they've paid X pounds for this service or for this to happen. It needs to be as good as it was, last time they did it, which was a year ago or 6 months ago. Just because you've changed a team, or you've now only cleaned the room, once a day, or don't do a turn down service, that's not good enough. That isn't what, that's not you as a brand, and that's not what they will remember. And I think it's just reinforcing the level of service, whether it be a flight, accommodation, or whatever it ends up being. And I think there's always a little bit of tug of war between us managing the expectations before the client has even stepped foot on board or in the room. Because ultimately, if it goes wrong whilst they're there, that's a big fail in my eyes. It needs to be right throughout. So it's constantly, negotiating, planning, and more planning, really.
Right. You mentioned something there, managing expectation, and that's going to be your how-to this week, isn't it? So this week's how-to, tell us what it is and how to do it, Matt.
Yeah, so my how-to, as I say, managing expectations is probably our biggest element of the company, really. We've been fortunate that some of our clients have got pretty much unlimited funds. They are what I classify as a ultra high net worth. They talk in telephone numbers. They're in the billions, not necessarily in the millions. They don't do the word no. And you might have to tell them no, but if I go to them and say no, then they'll just go elsewhere and try something else. So it's navigating the route so that the words no don't come out, basically. And that for me is something that I really feel passionate about, because we have the way that we have always delivered this is by being very, very transparent and honest. And I think, especially what we see in some of the aviation companies, they'll promise that they can land in the Swiss Alps at that time, us knowing full well it's shut at that time. And it's just being very transparent and honest and saying, look, I know you want 1 o'clock, but what about if we go at 11 o'clock, because the snow's going to come down and actually they're going to shut the runway and you're not going to end up anywhere. And all of a sudden, instead of me coming out with those words, all of a sudden it's a solution. But actually they're changing their ways without almost knowing. And I think genuinely being transparent and honest and reinforcing the safety has been one of our big things of how we continue to manage expectations with people that ultimately have been in a very, very fortunate position just to always get what they ever want, really.
So it's telling people honestly what they're going to get, so that the expectation is what they get.
Yes. Yeah. And I think as long as you're, it's amazing how many people say, have you really told them that? Have you really? Yeah, I have. Yeah, why? Oh my. Well, what did they say? What did they say? Oh, we wouldn't have said that. What would you have said then? Oh, well, I don't know. No, they're happy. They're fine. Because I've said, actually, it's not safe to do something at this time, or it's shut, and, there's this regulation or that regulation. And, if you can tell them and be transparent from the off, that is, it stops people pussyfooting around. And I think the problem that a lot of my competitors sometimes find is that they try and fluff everything up because of who it is or who they are. And we've always been very, very grounded. I will still ring clients up and say happy birthday. I'll still send them a birthday card, and people think I'm daft. Well, but they're a client. That it doesn't. And they'll say, yeah, but they're a superstar. Well, they might be a superstar to you or to them, but actually, it's a client to me, and I want them. And it's amazing how many of them have then even more respect for us because we treat them like a normal human being. And as I say, I had a phone call from a gentleman today. I've looked after him and the family probably for 15 years. He doesn't need to worry about the gas bill, but he was ringing me about his son had been shown some deal about a private jet, and he wanted to know what were my thoughts. And I told him what the thoughts are, and that was it. And he said, and there was a trust, and it wasn't something that he's going to go ahead with. Obviously, Dad was going to pay anyway, but it was he picked up the phone to speak to me, to hear me out on what my thoughts were. And I always say to people, listen, not every phone call is a sale, and I don't want it to be. We are a personable service. I want people to genuinely ring up. And if we can assist people and advise, it will do a 360 at some point and it will all come back. And that's my whole awareness in the Yorkshire region. I know that there's people in Yorkshire that probably don't know how to charter a private jet, probably don't know what some of the concierge elements that we do are. But there's nothing wrong with that. They might not need any of those facilities ever, but they might have a friend of a friend of a friend that in a year's time, 3 years' time might come back. We'll still get an odd call from somebody that will say, I met you 4 years ago at this, event, and you were looking after so-and-so, and we'd like to do it. It's our, wedding anniversary, it's our 50th birthday, or my daughter's 18th, and all of a sudden it's, that phone call or that chat that we had all those years back have come back round. So our thing has always been down to being personable.
Yeah, yeah. Have you ever picked up the phone and gone, shit, it's so and so?
No, and this is the weird thing. I don't get starstruck by anybody, and it's probably something that was missing at birth, because everybody has a hero or some. I mean, I guess there's an intrigue. I'm intrigued about the likes of Musk and Richard Branson and that sort of Bezos, and I'm intrigued of these guys. They intrigue me. But if I was in the room with them now, I'd go over and have a chat, because I don't know whether it's just a Yorkshire thing. I mean, I'm just that friendly guy that'll speak to anybody, I guess. But I don't. I don't go bending at the knees. I mean, people are like, "Oh, but have you met so and so?" Yeah, I have. Yeah, I've been fortunate. I've met pretty much a good chunk of walks of life, whether it be in the sports world or the music world, or, as I say, I mean, even doing the King's coronation, it was huge. There was all sorts of people from around the world, that we were there, and it was fantastic. But we were just having a natter.
Yeah.
And maybe that's one of the things that's actually helped me sort of, break down those barriers, really, just have a normal chat.
I suppose if they're surrounded by flunkies who just say yes all the time, and you come across as just a normal bloke and go, "Hello, Elon."
Yeah,
they probably want that, don't they? Somebody that actually just speaks to them like a normal person.
Yeah, I think it's amazing how many people. Oh, what do they want? Or, oh, wow, you've been to their house. What did they say? Where did you sit? What did you eat? Oh, we just sat on the couch and chatted, or somebody came and asked if I wanted a glass of water or whatever. It's I mean, I've been in some really wacky scenarios, but the reality is, just be normal.
Yeah,
and it's been genuinely one of the biggest strengths that I've been able to probably utilize as a business, is just being sort of normal and transparent, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So far, that it's been it's been very, very beneficial, because people will then get their teams to reach out and say, do you mind if so and so gives you a ring at this time? It will be on this number. Well, yeah, that's fine. Oh, is that all right? Well, yeah, I don't mind. We're all human, right? I mean, some people just maybe made it a bit quicker than somebody else. I mean,
yeah. Two quick questions, and I'm sure you've been asked them both 100 times. So, what's the weirdest request you've had, and what's the biggest fuck up you've done?
Oof, they're good, aren't they? Weirdest request. I mean, some of the music stuff. Obviously, everybody's heard about the blue M&Ms and all that. That's just run of the mill stuff, We've had to put Sky TV into porta cabins for an artist that's going to be on site for 10 minutes and go, just in case they want to, watch something or do something. It's I mean, what's weird? Define weird and wonderful, I guess. I don't know, really. You've got me on that one.
Okay. I thought it's the sort of thing people. And obviously we've heard that everyone's heard the take the blue M&Ms out and all that sort of thing. Nothing. Okay, go to the second one then. What's the biggest fuck up? Because obviously it's based on we've got to deliver this, and shit happens.
I would say my biggest issues have been when we've tried to win a job and to dilute our product. That's what I would say. And one thing that I've said for this year is we will not. It's irrelevant whether they can get something else for a different price or whatever. I think the minute you start cutting any form of corner, you are then very, very exposed. And I would say the fact I've got a small team sometimes when I get a call at 2, 3 in the morning, probably some of my answers have not been the best. Maybe, I think, my biggest regret was probably not taking on another 2 or 3 business partners at the time of the incarnation of the company. That's probably my which is fixable. Look, I get people all the time saying, "Oh, are you up for selling your business?" Or, can we invest into it or whatever? Because I'm 25 years down the line now, I've got a price tag on it that I feel is justifiable, but nobody else probably does, because it's a personal thing to me. And I think probably that would be one of my cock-ups from the start of business, that I would say, if there was 3 people on a level pegging of the company, I would be able to bounce off of them. Or if I go on holiday, I can be on holiday and I can turn my phone off, not still keep my phone on, which is basically what happens 24/7. So I would say my business structure for my own personal mentality is probably my biggest issue.
Last request from you. We ask all our guests this question. Who would you like to give a shout out to?
I mean, a big shout, really, I guess, is my team. We are. It's I said there's no I in team. We are a team, and ultimately, I work very, very closely with them all. On a daily basis. My wife for supporting my lots of painful hours, and the fact that whether we're in a restaurant having a meal or something, I tend to be getting a WhatsApp or some form of message or voice note or call or something that's very important to the client but not very important to us. Although she has her own business, and so she doesn't, she's very understanding in that respect. But it is, down to their sort of patience, I guess, that I am where I am.
Okay. Matt, it's been absolutely fascinating. I'm sure if you didn't have any NDAs, we'd be able to dig a little bit deeper, but I know I'm not allowed to ask. So, but thank you very, very much indeed. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you hit the follow button so every new episode gets sent straight to your phone.